Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Couch of Therapy Show. I'm your host, Hanif R. Jordan. And today we have an amazing guest, which I am so excited to have. Please excuse my voice, everybody. I lost it. It's trying to come back. Bear with me as we do this great show. You guys are going to love my next guest. He is really an advocate for self-healing. And when you find out how he got on this journey, it will inspire you as well. I cannot wait to dig in, but I'm not going to chop up his name, folks. You know that I will chop up his last name. So with no further ado, welcome my guest, Jay. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Hanif, how are you?
I'm well.
Awesome.
So can you tell our guests, first of all, how to pronounce your full name, where they can find you, if you're on Instagram, Facebook, of that nature, and so they can be able to really get in contact with you. I know now you're living in, I want to say, so you move with your family internationally, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We're living in the Philippines right now.
Oh, that's nice, though. How do you like it there?
Oh, we love it here. We have a lot of history here. Between my wife and I, we got married here twice. So she's Filipina as well. So we have a lot of memories here. First international trip was here with her as well. So a lot of good times. So we love the Philippines.
And that's what it's about. It's about having your family and creating that space where you guys can just thrive and grow, but love. Love is the ultimate thing. So, absolutely. Tell our guest your name because I don't want to chop it up.
So my name is Jay Chanthalangsy, just like how it's spelled. I know a lot of people get really taken back by how long it is, but once you see the last name, you can just pronounce it the way it's spelled. And I think, a lot of people, when they see like a longer last name, they think of like intonations and, they don't want to pronounce it wrong, but Chanthalangsy, when you look at it, it's
Chanthalangsy. I mean, it is what it says, but I would have chopped it up anyway because I would have thought it was something else. But Chanthalangsy, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Pleasure. Yeah.
So let's dig in. What got you? You work as an emotion code practitioner. What is that?
So emotion code is a type of energy healing technique, a modality. It was created by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's been practicing it for over 30 years. It was given to him divinely. He says, by God in his book, the book called the Emotion Code, and it deals with releasing what we call trapped emotions. And he classifies emotions as energy. We're all made up of energy, right? Little light particles and beings everywhere, like throughout our bodies. If you look through a microscope, you just see, little atoms like running around, right, or bouncing around. But he understood that, we like to internalize a lot of emotions. So that energy gets trapped within our bodies, within our physical bodies. And this healing modality helps us identify those trapped emotions so we can release it energetically and to create more balance and harmony within our bodies. So that's what the emotion code is.
I love that. And I also think, like, when you can conquer that, healing comes, and just more than just, I think, mental healing, emotional healing, and even gets rid of sickness and disease and things of that nature. Let's talk about, I want to go into what actually got you on this journey, and that was when you were going through something with your daughter. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so 2009, in my previous relationship, her and I, we had our first child, right? Our daughter, my first daughter. And it was a very trying time because 2 days after she was born, her mother's intuition kicked in, and she knew that something was wrong. So we called a doctor in, and she was taken to the NICU, and there happened to be a NICU nurse in there, which saw her, and she was the one that, called the doctors to take more tests. And after the tests came back, we then realized and found out that some of her numbers were very high. And after further diagnoses, we found out that she has a very rare genetic disorder called MMA. Not like the sport, contact sport. But,
yes.
It's actually called methylmalonic acidemia. It just means that her body cannot metabolize protein like normal people.
Normal people does, yes.
Yeah. So she has a really strict diet. She can take a little bit of protein, but not too much. But as we all know, protein affects everything, every part of your body, muscle growth, right? Tissue regeneration, all that stuff. So she's on a very, strict diet, and that first year of her life was very, very difficult. I don't think we saw her open her eyes until like 2 weeks later, and she was already helicoptered from Berkeley, California to Stanford, Palo Alto, where we stayed for about a year in the Ronald McDonald house while she was in NICU care. So it was a very
trying time.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and that could put pressure on a marriage.
We weren't married at the time. We were just, dating. We were in a relationship.
Okay.
It was definitely trying as well because, our only concern was our daughter. So every morning we'd get up, 7 o'clock. We'd go to the NICU, stay there all day. As we listen to doctors and nurses tell us, the updates on how she's doing, and a lot of things happen in between that. In that first year, things weren't working correctly internally. She had a liver transplant at 1 year old.
Wow.
Just a lot of stuff. But just going through that ordeal was, like I said, really emotionally, taxing.
And I can still hear it. I can still hear it. I can still hear it as you speak. I don't think that's anything any parent really forgets. You can get through it, but to forget about it because it's just a trying time. And I love what Ronald McDonald House does for families that are in those positions. How is your daughter today?
She is amazing. She's thriving. If you look at her, you probably wouldn't even tell that she went through all of that in, her early stages of life. So she's in school. She's 14 now.
Wow.
Loving life. She loves school. She's like very creative and silly, and such a amazing person. So she's doing fantastic.
How did you deal with the grief of, I don't know when that relationship with her mother ended, but then going into the grief, having to really face the things you went through with your father, as he was also, and I send my condolence to that.
Thank you.
Losing your father to cancer shortly after. It's like you were hit with one thing after another.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for your condolences. 2009, like when we finally were discharged from Stanford after that, almost close to a year, and my daughter was already doing good, right? We would just have to go to the hospital every month to go check her numbers and blood tests and all that stuff. And then as soon as we came back and settled at home, I get a call from my sister, and she's, of course, just crying and couldn't even tell me what was happening. And then she finally said, I found out, or Dad told me that he has liver cancer, and it was one of the hardest moments of my life. I immediately broke down, just crying my eyes out, and I didn't know what to do, right? Because I just got over this, crazy time with my daughter, and then my parents, they were living in Hawaii at the time, and I was in California. So after getting off the call, I told my daughter's mother, I was like, I need to go back home to Hawaii, to take care of my father. And it was one of the hardest decisions because, my daughter that just got out of out of care, and then having to go and be away from them to go take care of my father was like a difficult decision. And so,
but one that needed to be made,
right.
Because that's your father.
Yeah.
And I get it. I lost my mom to cancer, so I totally understand your journey. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I do. But the fact that you did go back was a blessing because you also have to have closure in some time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because the closure for me at that time, my relationship with my father was very difficult as well, right?
Yeah.
He was a source of a lot of my childhood trauma. And at that time, I really didn't understand why he behaved that way, why he parented that way. I was still very unaware and unhealed myself.
Right.
So, I had a lot of resentment within me. I had a lot of anger, and still, even at that time, even though I was very sad and very, and grieving because, I was about to lose him, right? I was still feeling a lot of this, like, unresolved
issues. I get it.
Issues.
I get it 100%.
So,
and I'm saying, like, you're in that state. I know there's this guilt you feel, too, because your parent is passing away, right? And that's your reality.
Mm-hmm.
But also you have the reality of all the trauma that you endured from this parent. So not only are you angry, frustrated, and sad, it's so hard to navigate.
Right.
And in that time, I don't think it may not have been easy to express either what you were feeling yourself, or to come to terms of how you're feeling. So when you realized that that's the emotions you were going through, how did you face it?
At that time, I didn't want to face it, and I really disassociated. I was distracting myself, doing things. Half my life at that time was living in Hawaii, and it was my second home. So I had a lot of friends there. So I would be at the hospital taking care of him, and then like at night I would just go distract myself, with my friends. Go out. I used to be a bartender there, so I knew where all the bars were, the clubs were, all my regulars and stuff. So I was just like trying to, take
numb yourself.
Right, numb myself. And for a long time, I have already been doing that for such a long time. Like I'm talking like right out of high school.
No, I understand. I understand.
I was one of those people who just like severely rebelled and just lived a rock star life. I was already bartending at a very young age, like in my early 20s, and then just destroying my body right through substances. But at that time,
Jay, at least you lived.
Right.
So here's the thing. I hope you don't punish yourself for living. I hope you celebrate yourself for awakening.
Yes.
So I do believe that we have to go through some things, right? And so your 20s are usually you figuring it out. We don't know. You don't. And then the fact that you woke up, I hope you celebrate that within yourself.
Yes.
And I pray that you don't punish yourself for living, trying to figure it out. Because a lot of times we punish ourselves for trying to figure it out. When our parents really didn't know, all they knew is to put food on the table and to make sure we had a roof over our head. So we're trying to, the next generation, we're just trying to love better and parent better. But at the same time, we're still growing and learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that you celebrate where you are and that you see that you've come a long way. And that you're not your past, but your past made you the man that you are today.
Most definitely.
I just want to pour that into you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, definitely. I received that wholeheartedly.
Good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, every time, my wife and I talk about it now. So my wife, we have 3 kids, living in the Philippines, and every day we wake up, we're just like, wow, we said we were going to do this. We said we were going to travel the world and just, create these adventures with our family.
And you did it.
Here we are. Yeah, here we are.
I mean, that's the key that I hope what we make the mistake in doing is not living in the moment.
Right.
You did it.
Yeah.
You know how many people say it, and 10 years later they're still talking about it, and 20 years later they're still talking about it, and then we go to their funerals, and then we're still talking about it. You guys did it.
Mm-hmm.
You did it.
Yeah, we still have to pinch ourselves every day. Like, some days I still wake up and I'm like, am I still in a different country? Are we still here?
Honey, you got out of here.
We're still here.
Yeah, because America's something else. But, it is. That's a whole nother topic,
Right.
I think you being there in the Philippines, and I don't want to speak for you, do you see the pressures of life just different? Like something lifted off of your shoulders?
Oh, like I said, like you said, Hanif, we can have a whole another conversation about this, but just to keep it short, since we left America, all I can say is I've unsubscribed to all of the systems that
so good
created so much fear, anxiety, worry. I mean, once we left, like you mentioned, the feeling of feeling light, feeling less worried about things, less anxious. I mean, even here, the people here, the culture here, it's way different. It's a third. It's still considered a third. Third world, but you don't.
Shoot, America is more like the third world, but that's a whole other topic.
Right. Yeah. So when we came here, I mean, the vibe was totally different, right? And we
I'm happy
felt,
for you.
like I said, a lot lighter, and the kids love it, and just the Filipino people is also different. Like, I don't have to worry about walking down where I live, and if I'm smiling at someone, they're not going to look at me like I'm crazy.
Trust me, I understand. Trust me. Okay. I'm just saying.
Right.
This melanated skin over here understands. But I always hear great stories when people leave here. And so that's one of my dreams for one of my youngest kids. He wants to travel. He speaks 4 languages as it is, and he'll pick up the really. Yeah. He's only 19. And that's one place he wants to visit. And I told him, go live your life. Go.
Yeah.
Go. Because you'll be at peace. It'll be totally different. Trust me.
Yeah.
Especially
traveling.
When you speak.
Yeah. And traveling brings that. Traveling, I think, lets you understand deeper about the world, other cultures, right? How they view different issues and topics, and how they respond to different situations as well,
and family oriented. I see that you're very family oriented, and I love that. But that's part of your culture anyway. You're originally from Hawaii, correct?
Originally, well, I was born in Thailand, and then we landed in California, and then we went
Okay.
to Hawaii. So I lived in Hawaii for like 17 years, and then went back to California.
I
So
want to
that's
go to
why
Thailand
I'm home.
so bad. I want to go. I do. That's
Yeah.
going to be one of my bucket lists. But
Do it.
California, yeah, I get it. I'm proud of you, Jay. I just think you need to hear that. I'm proud that you did the work. Let's talk about how your beautiful wife came into the picture during your healing process.
Oh yeah. So at that time, I had just moved back from Hawaii to California, and I was trying to focus on just being a father, being focusing on my career, and before coming back to California, her mother and I we called it quits with our relationship. So we were just trying to co-parent,
Yeah,
do
it
the best we
happened.
can. Right. And then I was working on my career, and I told myself I'm not gonna get into a relationship because ain't nobody got time for that right now.
Bruh, I feel you. Trust me.
Yeah. So then, like, I remember, we had a Christmas party, and then she walks in the door as a plus one to my newly hired coworker at that time, and she definitely caught my eye, and I was like, "Who is this? I don't."
See, we always be talking about we don't want nobody, and then
Right. Yeah.
and then God be like, boy, please
Right.
look at.
Right. Exactly.
I
He's
love it.
laughing at your plans.
Oh
He's
my
like,
God, he
"Oh."
laughed at him.
Yeah. So we hit it off pretty quickly, and we started dating, and like, of course, falling in love and stuff like that, and then shortly after, asked her to marry me, or marry us, my daughter and I.
And I love that you said that, Jay, because that's important. No, I really hope that men are listening. You are a package deal, and
Right.
when you said us, that just tells me about your character. A lot of people will get in relationships and forget about the us part when they have children, and you were very intentional about that. I also don't
Right.
think that you fell in love. I think that you knew. There's a difference between
Yeah.
when a man sees a woman, he usually knows his wife when he sees her, and I think you've seen her and you knew. And so, and love, as you know now, right? It's work. Ain't no falling in anything, honey. It just isn't. It is not. I mean, I love the fairy tale, but it does take intentional to be intentional.
Right.
And I love that you said to marry you guys. And so, what qualities in her did you see? Of course, her beauty, but after that, when you started to date, what qualities in her did you see that you knew that she would be a good wife for you, but a great bonus mom to your daughter?
She is so nurturing and loving and soft and empathetic. Her spirit, her soul is just steady. Like when she smiles, it just makes you feel so safe and comfortable. And that's what even, my daughter, her stepdaughter, felt. She felt very safe and was able to open up to her instantly. And she has that type of effect. She's very empathic, like I said, and she can feel things and notice things within you that you can't even feel for yourself. And that was one of the reasons why, our marriage was such a healing journey for the both of us, meaning my wife and I, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I came from a background of being very emotionally unavailable. So all of my
I get it.
previous relationships were very, difficult. I didn't know how to articulate my emotions and talk about my feelings, and that was very
well, I don't think you felt safe to.
Yeah.
Because what I'm listening to you, listening to what you're saying is the one thing, the key thing that I heard is when you said she's soft. Well, you created a space for her to be soft and feminine. And when a woman can be in that space to be feminine, that gives the man permission to let his guards down. And it gives him a safe space. So I love that I just don't think that you felt safe enough. And this is no shade to any relationship you were previously in, because I've been that person where someone wasn't safe. I didn't know how to be soft. So that was a key word that I heard you say, that she was soft. And I just think women forget to be that in a world that sometimes makes us have to be kind of too strong and dealing with our masculine side. It was her softness that got you. And it's needed. It's needed. Yeah. So I love that. You sound very in love, very happy. So I think you both are blessed and lucky. I think you've connected with someone that's closer to God than you've ever seen. That is why she can see and feel things that most are not in tune with. And you guys just make a great fit. But the fact that your daughter feels safe, that is a blessing in itself. So I love that for you guys. I think that's amazing. And I know I'm off topic, but I want people to see you definitely as the human that you are. And as humans, we are all flawed, right? There is no one that is not. And so you going on this journey, now you're moved, you have a new wife, you have 2 children with her, correct?
3.
3. So you have 4 children total.
Correct.
Okay, I got to keep up with you, bro. You know, them babies was made from love. See, I see. Okay, so you have 4 beautiful children now. How has your new role impacted not only your life, but the life of your community that you and your wife are embarking on at this time?
Oh, wow. So being on this healing journey, personal healing journey, has definitely inspired us to, share our stories, be more vulnerable, teach our clients and students about, some of the things that we've been through individually and as a couple, and hopefully, inspire them to begin their own healing journeys. I always say, like, healing is the hustle, right? We have a lot of things we need to work and heal from. And once we do that, we start to cultivate more awareness on some of the things that are impeding our progress, or, reaching our dreams, or, just really connecting with our most authentic self. And so if we're not expressing that, then, there are things that we're limiting ourselves from. And for us, coaching our clients and talking to our students or whoever wants to listen, it's very rewarding when they start to have their own realizations. They start to have their own enlightening experiences. They start to, forgive themselves, or, take steps to create and cultivate that self-love to then start to heal. Because, once we start to heal, the byproduct of that is, you creating the ripple effect. And I always say to my clients and students, like, healing is a sacred journey.
Really
is. Once you do it for yourself, you're not only impacting yourself first and foremost, but you're also impacting, your ancestors, your parents, your children, future generations. They're not going to see, you repeat those patterns.
Come on, brother.
Yeah, that created the trauma within you in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And that was where my catalyst happened, was when I started to see that I was repeating the same parenting style behaviors that I did with my first daughter. And that's why my wife, my wife was like also the catalyst that told me. It was like, she's like, you can't do that to your daughter. You can't you can't just tell her to stop crying. You can't like be insensitive to her, right? And I didn't know any better. Like you said, I wasn't safe enough to like express my emotions, and
exactly.
I was like coming down on her with an iron fist every time she would like feel anything, right? Because I didn't know how to feel at that time.
And it scared you.
Yeah, of course, it scared me because I didn't know how to react, and it was just projecting out as anger most of the time.
Oh, so, brother, we are the same cloth, trust me.
Yeah. So what I learned, I always tell people too, like, I didn't learn about empathy and sensitivity until I came across my wife, right? Like,
that's good.
When I say she taught me some of the most valuable lessons of being more in my feminine and being able to feel safe within myself and being able to express myself, like, she was that person.
Yeah.
So now, our 3 kids, they'll never experience, that side of me or that unhealed version of a parent that I was, right? And even my eldest daughter, like, I'm grateful that like you said, I was awakening to understand that, because now our relationship emotionally is very, very amazing. She feels safe to call me anytime when she's feeling anything or when something's on her mind or something's weighing on her heart. And as a father to a girl dad,
yes, honey,
that's all I can ask for.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, Jay, that's what I'm so proud of you, because having a daughter that can come to her father about anything emotional is a testament of your growth.
Yeah.
And I hope you see that.
I do.
And the fact that you have broken the generational, I want to say, some of its decisions, right? Because a lot of it's generational bad decisions that are after generation is made. And some, I say, are generational curses on the bloodline that we have to break, right? And so the fact that you did the work, I just want you to be able to live in the moment and give yourself grace, but also be very proud of yourself. You did it. You did it. Not that the work doesn't continue, because it's easy to slip back. Trust
me.
I dealt with more of my masculine side than my feminine side for a very long time. And with retrospect of looking back, it was needed when I was in survival mode, but it wasn't needed once I got married. And so I had to learn too. My sons come to me with everything now, but I trust me, I had to learn. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm a lot older than you. May I ask your age, sir, if you don't mind?
42.
Okay, I am about 10 years. Okay, I'm 51. I'm 51 and loving it. Okay, but this
really?
journey.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have thought like early 40s.
I receive, honey. Yes, I'm 51 and loving it. But, having now a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and when I had to switch to the respecting them as young men, and when my son had to sit me down and tell me, like, hey, I'm not this little boy anymore. You got to let me make mistakes. That's so hard for me to break that stuff. But I'm glad I did. And so what I see for you and what I see that you've done is the work. But the work is the journey. It's the journey, right? It's not the destination. It's the fact that you're still doing it. And I'm so glad you found a partner that you just gel together so good. Congratulations, because that doesn't always happen for everyone,
Yeah. I mean, you talked about it before, like life, not life, but the marriage is definitely work. And I think the thing that kept us very together, because there was a time where she was going to leave me, like our first 3 marriages was not, rainbows and butterflies. I was still very unhealed. I was still very triggered, defensive, and I remember, I gave her the silent treatment for like a week. and she was about to bounce. She was like, and she called my sister, and she was like, if he doesn't call me, I'm out. And we had our first daughter at that time.
Good for her. She knew her limits.
Yeah, she knew. But then, things happened, and then we reconciled that. And then, like, that's when we both understood that we had to create a safe space for ourselves individually, and as supporting the other person while they go through their own healing journeys.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a lot of things that she had to come to terms with and deal with, with her own traumas and stuff. And I also had to do that as well. And I think when we sat down and kind of like talked it over, and we became more aware, and we started to implement, different tools and things that we've learned, and going to therapy, couples counseling and stuff like that. Like,
yes.
We started to see like this is what we need to create this, healthy and safe environment for both of us to thrive in, And so we still continue to do that, like we always talk about it too, every time she gets triggered or, I feel triggered, like our conversations don't lead to arguments and like, all those other negative.
No, that's the growth. And that's the growth. And what I see is that you guys are just, actually that's marriage, right? So,
right.
But you guys are intentional about, okay, I love you, you're worth it, I want to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that each person is learning to allow, and that was my biggest lesson. I've been married 23 years, okay? So one of my lessons in my marriage was I'm rushing someone to grow at my pace.
Right.
And that's not right, because how I process isn't how he processes, As long as there's movement, if that makes sense. Yeah. And we're not stagnant. You have to allow each other to grow. I'm an advocate on couples counseling. I think that should be the first thing everybody do in the first place before you even get married. Like, you should go, just go, because the truth is we all will bring in some type of trauma, things that we have been through in life. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. Marriages where you two, and if you two have noticed, you mirror each other.
Yep.
That's all.
100%.
And especially the stuff that ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
It's your way of becoming one. It's just God's way of refining you guys to move as one. And so you have to get healed from all of that junk so you can do that. Yeah. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I know it took a different turn because I want people to really see you. And I hope that's okay with you.
Of course.
My interview style is a little bit different. It is called the Couch of Therapy, though, as you can see.
I love the name. Yeah.
Thank you so much. One of my guests gave me that. It wasn't even called that, but she was like, I feel like I'm telling you my whole business. I'm on a therapy show on the couch. I was like, I wouldn't take that name. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what would you like, before we conclude, what would you like people to know about you? How can, if they need your services, do you offer it online as well as in person? And if so, please tell them how they can get in contact with you and your beautiful wife.
Of course, yeah. So you can definitely just go to my website, www.jaychanthalangsy.com. You can find all the resources there if you want to book a session. I'm a self-care and healing coach, so my way of, starting the healing journey for anyone is through self-care. So I actually teach, people and students and clients about what real self-care is, right? Putting that attention on yourself and just beginning that journey. My wife also has her coaching business. It's emotion-ally.com.
Okay.
She's an ally to all of your emotions because she's an empath as well. So, you can go there. Any of those websites, you can reach us there. My handle for all social media is at Jay Chanthalangsy. My wife, she's not so much into social media, so.
Tell her I understand it. My husband either.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have this show, I wouldn't be either. I can't stand it.
Yeah, sometimes it gets, too overwhelming, but I think, like you said, like you always mention, being intentional about it is definitely makes it a lot easier. So,
True,
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And you and I really have no choice. The business that we're in, we have to do.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Exactly.
What are you going to do?
That's where the people are, right? That's where.
Yeah, unfortunately. That's where they are. That's where they are. Oh my God. But I love that. I just want to thank you so much, Jay, for coming on my show, being open to the conversation. I wish you continue healing on your journey. I wish you longevity in your marriage, and I wish nothing but prosperity for you and your entire family. May God bestow nothing but blessings to you. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for being that man that's vulnerable. Because we don't get to see that often. And thank you for changing for you.
Wow. I thank you so much for that. I totally, openly, wholeheartedly receive that. Thank you.
Absolutely. God bless you. And everybody, until next time, this is your host, Hanif R. Jordan. Can't wait to see what's next. All right now.